What if an intriguing discovery about the Triforce combined with a connection to a past title holds the key to unlocking the mysteries surrounding Tears of the Kingdom? Thanks for joining us here on GameSmiths, and I hope you're having a great day. This is going to be an interesting one, so let's get into it. In the shadows of ancient Hyrule, a world turns slowly to darkness. Thick clouds obscure the sun, the land tears apart, and once peaceful creatures morph into monsters. At first glance, this might sound like a description of the depths from Tears of the Kingdom, but surprisingly, this narrative unfolds in another realm entirely. Hyrule, from A Link Between Worlds. Released in 2014, this game connects the origin story of Skyward Sword with the evolving landscapes of Hyrule seen in Breath of the Wild and Tears of the Kingdom. The parallels between Hyrule and the depths are unmistakable, from the themes of gloom and decay to a world overrun by monsters. As we delve into the Zelda timeline, a provocative question arises. What if our understanding of this timeline is fundamentally flawed because we missed an essential detail? The Triforce can grant the bearer any wish they desire, and is capable of bending the very fabric of reality in the process. But over the course of time, as we know, all good things must come to an end, and that's including the lives of heroes and legends. When the life of the wish-bearer fades into memory, what becomes of reality in the aftermath of their passing? Putting it simply, what happens when wishes die? The answer to that question may lie in one significant change we notice from Breath of the Wild to Tears of the Kingdom, and that of course is the evolution of malice to gloom. Almost as if to represent the escalation of the threat restrained beneath the castle, the new iteration of malice, known as gloom, is a dense, sickly formic miasma that manages to quickly pollute the nearby area with a poisonous toxin. The bowels of the depths below Hyrule had remained secreted away from the innocent world above, and for us as players alike, and thus the discovery of the depths was almost as much of a surprise to fans worldwide as it was to the inhabitants of Hyrule, reeling in the events of the upheaval and the regional phenomena now plaguing this iteration of Hyrule. Falling into the depths, players are summarily stripped of any confidence they had in what they knew mere seconds beforehand. As the very earth beneath Hyrule hemorrhaged into terrific schisms, cracking the ground and giving way to great fissures, opening up across the surface of Hyrule, it was like the underworld itself had become sentient, opening like gaping maws below some magnificent beast, intent on swallowing the towns and people above. And yet, for all this fantastic destruction, it went largely unnoticed how very similar the events and this one change, the reference to gloom, had also connected to a title released barely a decade prior, A Link Between Worlds. As it would turn out, the similarities don't end there, and even at a glance, this depiction of Hyrule, a dark world succumbing to slow decay and the rise of the demon tribe, as well as the inclusion of specific tropes from the role of sages, the sacred realm, and the return of Ganon, all tend to enhance the significance of the connections between the two games. Even the ancient Hylian language and script used in Breath of the Wild and Tears of the Kingdom happen to be the same as the version featured in A Link Between Worlds, and therefore only slightly changed from the iteration of the language which was first introduced in Skyward Sword in 2011, acting to provide a sense of continuity across the titles. From Gloom to Phantom Ganon, the ancient Hylian language, and then of course the Dark World featuring as an integral aspect of the games, the connections start to add up over time and the more you look into them. So the question arises, is there more to these similarities, or are they simply a callback to past titles designed to stir the all-important nostalgia so many of us hold dear? A Link Between Worlds, dubbed the Triforce of the Gods 2 in Japan, not only continues the narrative from A Link to the Past, but also explores similar themes with its counterpart, the Dark World.
1991年、スーパーファミコン用ソフトとして発売された「ゼルダの伝説神々のトライフォース」。神々のトライフォースの世界で新しい謎解き、新しいゼルダ。ゼルダの伝説神々のトライフォース2。
The main gameplay mechanic of travelling through paintings was inspired by Phantom Ganon from Ocarina of Time, showcasing the series' thematic callbacks and interconnectivity. Similar to Tears of the Kingdom, the game is the only other occasion where a direct sequel is referenced between one title to the other, in addition of course to using the same base map, albeit one adjusted for the nuances of the sequel, including facets such as storyline and mechanics. When Link obtains the Triforce in A Link to the Past, his wish to reverse Ganon's destruction sets a precedent for the world of Hyrule in A Link Between Worlds. This kingdom, having destroyed its own Triforce to end greed, spirals into decay, a fate eerily similar to the potential future of Hyrule, as hinted at in Tears of the Kingdom. According to Zelda Encyclopedia, life without the Triforce makes for a miserable existence. A great gloom settles over its people, great rifts grow, and animals turn into monsters. This decay of Hyrule mirrors what we see in the depths of Tears of the Kingdom, but it raises a critical question. If the Triforce's influence is so integral, what happens when the effects of a wish fade with the death of the person who made the wish in the first place? The concept of wishes and their permanence is a central theme echoed throughout the series as a whole. Zelda Encyclopedia asserts that a wish on the Triforce holds until the user dies. Thus, the fate of Hyrule after the restoration of its Triforce and the eventual deaths of Link and Zelda could potentially mirror the declining state of Hyrule we see in the Fallen timeline. This connection between the death of a wishmaker and the subsequent reversion of reality could help to explain many of the series' lingering mysteries. The canonical timeline where Link is defeated, known as the Fallen timeline, is notable for how the kingdom undergoes a regression of sorts, almost likened to the fate of the hero in Ocarina of Time. On multiple occasions, the Triforce features central to key events, showcasing a cycle of prosperity followed by an inevitable decline. The formation of the timeline itself arises from Ganon succeeding in the pivotal battle against Link in Ocarina, where he defeats the hero and finally gains the Triforce of Courage, as well as the Triforce of Wisdom from Zelda. Now armed with the Golden Power complete, Zelda and the sages make a last stand, choosing to seal Ganon in the Sacred Realm with the Triforce as a whole in an attempt to save the kingdom from annihilation, sparking the Sacred Realm to succumb to Ganon's malicious designs, where the Triforce enables the transition of this once wholly sacred realm into the Dark World, acting as the backstory to the events for A Link to the Past. In a similar way to Hyrule, the allure of the Triforce tempts many to seek out the Golden Power, enticing them into the Dark World where Ganon's power then transforms them into monsters, this way expanding his demon horde before setting his sights on his return to the Light Realm. We never find out exactly what Ganon wished for when he finally unlocked the power of the Triforce, but what we do know is that it took the collective power of the sages combined and the greater strengths of the Knights of Hyrule to keep him at bay with great sacrifice and loss, culminating in the seal being restored. And this whole effort became an event dubbed as the Imprisoning War, albeit playing out differently from the same event we hear about in the ancient past of Tears of the Kingdom. Speculating for a moment, what if he wished to remain undying and everlasting in the sense that he could never truly be killed as a typical person would, ensuring that his influence over that reality would remain eternal? It's a wish somehow echoed in how the Demon King manages to return or resurrect time and time again, always intrinsically drawn to the primary virtue of power and its piece of the Triforce that's said to provide the bearer with immortality due to the strength of conviction imbued in their desire. While multiple wishes are made on the Triforce to restore peace to the kingdom or bring wealth and prosperity, the inevitability of time leads the bearer to eventually pass on, upon which it seems as though the kingdom reverts to a state of decline, almost as if the balance is restored in regression, and it could be argued that mirrors the timeline itself. The Fallen timeline itself is one underpinned by Ganon lying in wait, seeking to conquer Hyrule, even succumbing to his own bestial-based desires. The cyclical nature of the Fallen timeline, ebbing and flowing based on the wishes imbued by the Golden Triforce, could be seen as an essential clue in understanding the deeper workings of the series as a whole by examining the true nature of wishes and how they play out over the larger spans of time. This theme is not just a narrative device, but also a profound exploration of the series' foundational elements. The idea that the Triforce's power can alter reality until the demise of the one who made the wish, and what entails for the kingdom of Hyrule and Hyrule, is something that becomes pivotal to the discussion at hand. The transition from the Dark World to Hyrule and the uncanny similarities to the Depths suggests that the unravelling of a Triforce-based wish could ultimately revert to a calamitous end. The reality twisting and bending with the cycles of life, death, and rebirth that are now intrinsically connected to the central plotline of Tears of the Kingdom, and indeed echoed throughout the storied chronicles of legends past. Knowing the wish remains true as long as the user lives brings into question the obvious alternative of what happens when they die. And this question is directly answered in the next sequence of events following A Link Between Worlds. It's referenced in Zelda Encyclopedia, with the former being a kingdom of prosperity, leading into another era noted as where the kingdom declines. With the events of A Link Between Worlds over, the Triforce was returned to the Sacred Realm, a visage that has been iconically referenced as amongst the heavens in the Golden Light. And I don't know about you, but I can't ignore just how similar the Sky Islands in Tears of the Kingdom tend to represent the Sacred Realm, in terms of what we've heard of in the past. Now in the care of the royal family, the timeline explains how the king of that era used the Triforce to make the kingdom prosperous. Yet upon his death, this idyllic reality unravels quickly, devolving from poor decisions to curses and a new calamity entirely for the kingdom. When the king dies, Hyrule falls into chaos. Princess Zelda is cursed by her brother and his magician friend after refusing to hand over the Triforce of Wisdom or reveal the whereabouts of the Triforce of Courage, which had been secreted away to be found by a worthy hero amongst the palaces and townships of Hyrule, named for the sages most iconically connected to Ocarina of Time. Fate unravels further, giving way to the rise of Ganon's forces seeking the blood of the hero. And here, the original Legend of Zelda and its sequel, Zelda 2, The Adventure of Link, explore this decay, leading to Link reuniting the Triforce yet again in an effort to restore peace. Here we see the pattern of prosperity followed by decline as not just a historical incident, but a crucial element to the Triforce's nature. It highlights how wishes are bound to the life of the Wishmaker. In A Link Between Worlds, Hyrule's plight begins when its Triforce is destroyed. The realm's decay mirrors what we see in the depths of Tears of the Kingdom, but could these similarities indicate a shared fate if a Triforce's wish is undone? The decaying world of Hyrule, with its monstrous transformation and great rifts, serves as a stark warning for what could befall Hyrule under a similar circumstance. The comparison to the depths and the upheaval event and regional phenomena we experience in Tears of the Kingdom is hard to deny. Indeed, the game's mechanics and narrative design tends to emphasize these parallels. Hyrule's history, shaped by its lost Triforce, reflects a dark mirror of Hyrule's potential future. The themes of duality and parallel worlds are intrinsic to Zelda's storytelling, deepening the connection between these two games and making the comparison rather intriguing. And here we now begin to look at the theoretical implications when we talk about wishes, and the persistence of those wishes after they're made. Exploring the persistence of wishes opens up many theoretical pathways. For example, when Link defeats Ganon in A Link to the Past and wishes for Hyrule to be restored, does he set a precedent? This act of restoration is seen again in A Link Between Worlds when Hyrule's Triforce is revived. But what if these wishes aren't permanent? What if, as suggested, the wishes die with their makers, leading for the collapse of these restored worlds? Well, let's take a look at Ganon's influence. Ganon's recurring influence across timelines is another critical element. His wish for power implicit in his actions and a resulting transformation of worlds could signify an underlying persistent wish that transcends his defeats. Ganon's essence, seen in the ongoing threats in A Link to the Past, the Oracle games and beyond, might suggest that his wish for domination has a lingering effect, one that is actually shaping the worlds long after his apparent demise in those titles. The depths in Tears of the Kingdom can be seen as a physical manifestation of these theoretical explorations. The transformation of malice into gloom represents an evolution of the threat, and gloom, like Hyrule's decay, symbolises a deeper, more intrinsic corruption that could be the result of an undone wish. The fissures opening up across Hyrule leading to the depths mirror Hyrule's tearing apart, suggesting that there's a shared fate if the protective power of the Triforce wanes. This is even more intriguing when we consider the apparent absence of the Triforce in Breath of the Wild and Tears of the Kingdom. The shift from malice to gloom hints at an escalation. The depths, with their toxic environment and monstrous inhabitants, are reminiscent of Hyrule's suffering. This thematic continuity suggests that Tears of the Kingdom explores what happens when the underlying wish-based balance of a world is disrupted. And then of course we need to factor in the Zonai. The new law introduced in Tears of the Kingdom, particularly concerning the Zonai and the imprisoning war, add layers to this theory. The Zonai, an ancient civilization, and their connection to the Triforce and Hyrule's history could indicate a deeper, more complex narrative. The imprisoning war, now depicted differently, might align with the overarching theme of the disrupted wishes and how that can occur in terms of resulting chaos. From our previous video, we explored the bargainer statues and their connection to the depths. The bargainer, an enigmatic figure shrouded in mystery, offers insights into the spiritual and material exchange that governs the depths. The bargainer's connection to Pose, for example, wandering spirits as they are, parallels the Triforce's impact on the balance between life and death, and indeed that of good and evil. The bargainer's presence and its ability to bestow heart containers or stamina vessels suggests a power similar to that of the Triforce, reinforcing the idea of balance and the consequences of disruption. While the theory holds a lot of weight, it's important to consider counter-arguments. For example, let's talk about the longevity of wishes. Some might argue that not all wishes would revert immediately or completely, which is a fair call. For instance, the wish for prosperity made by a king might create long-lasting effects even after his death, for example within a specific family and their bloodline well after. However, the decline that would inevitably follow for the kingdom as a whole would suggest a reversion to a state that balances out the initial wish, with the example of a specific family still likely to be impacted by the overall economy of the kingdom and any flow-on effects that could occur. But what do you think? Could some wishes have long-lasting effects even after the wishmaker's death? Is there something I've missed that you might want to share in the comments? Then of course we have Ganon's repeated deaths. Ganon's ability to return even after being defeated might imply that his wish for power has a lingering influence. This could suggest that while individual wishes might revert, the overarching intent or essence of a wish could persist. But do you think Ganon's reoccurring resurrections are due to a persistent wish, or due to something else entirely, for example, the Curse of Demise? Lastly, we have the influence of multiple timelines, and this is one that I think definitely has an impact overall. The existence of multiple timelines does complicate the interpretation of wishes and their outcomes. Each timeline might have its own set of rules and consequences for Triforce wishes, and this adds a layer of complexity that both enriches and complicates the narrative, leaving it open to various interpretations, and one that I'd love to hear if you've got any theories that could relate to this below. In summary, the idea that a wish on the Triforce holds until the wishmaker dies does open up a set of fascinating possibilities. Hyrule's decay and the depths in Tears of the Kingdom could be both seen as manifestations of this concept. The cyclical nature of prosperity and decline tied to the Triforce's power is, after all, a recurring theme across the series. And as we look to the future of Zelda, could those connections offer even more exciting potential for us in terms of future games? The fate of the Triforce, the continuing evolution of the lore, and of course the exploration of new and old themes promises more mysteries and adventures ahead. Lastly, I wanted to touch on why this theory was important. The Legend of Zelda thrives on puzzles, not just within its gameplay but also within its expansive lore. There's an interesting exchange that occurred during a recent interview that highlights the puzzle-like nature of its history shared between Brian from Game Informer and the devs. Here, Brian asked the question, does the Hyrule we saw in the flashback scenes in Tears of the Kingdom predate Skyward Sword, or does it come after the other games in the timeline? Hidemaru Fujibayashi responds by stating there's something a bit clearer in our minds, but of course it could be that we're wrong as well. History, like in real life, is defined by the artifacts and data we have at hand. There might be a correct answer or perhaps a different one altogether, and indeed, both could be correct. Aonuma is more coy. He says Zelda is a series that focuses on solving puzzles. This timeline is just another puzzle that players need to unravel. The series timeline is indeed almost as intricate as the puzzles within the games themselves. Each installment adds layers of complexity and nostalgia, and they tend to evoke emotions and debates among its fans. Zelda games are designed to stay relevant by constantly innovating with their own mythos, creating a tapestry of memories that resonate throughout different generations. And Zelda games are almost part of the collective zeitgeist of those generations. They're snapshots in time holding nostalgia wrapped in the moments that come and go like the seasons. And we often look back on these moments fondly, slightly biased to their significance as it relates to our own journey. There's something deeply personal about the games we cherish, and for that reason, it tends to polarize the existing fan base by the intrinsic nature of being both innovative to stay relevant, as well as uniquely intricate in terms of a series' established lore and tropes. It's a classic impossibility that acts to mimic the paradoxical nature of Zelda itself, and it's part of the Zelda DNA. The very combination of technology and intention, packaged in superb design and gameplay scored to unforgettable soundtracks, sets the benchmark of what makes Zelda, Zelda. And regardless of what we define as special to us, and the many views comprising the ongoing debates of what is and isn't Zelda, I think you'd have to agree that overall it's the shared passion that keeps the series relevant with new generations of developers and fans alike, guiding the franchise into the unknown. And this is a fact that honours the series' foundational roots of innovation and evidence of how we actively determine the future of Zelda. The conversation is relevant in how we experience Tears of the Kingdom and the wider dialogue surrounding the story and existing lore. This leads to one of the more interesting criticisms surrounding the modern titles and how they relate to the existing chronology and timelines. A prime example being the kingdom's founding here being set alongside the story of the Zonai and the imprisoning war as one that is a retcon or outright abandonment of the same events depicted in the tomes dating back to Hyrule's Storia. I've theorised in the past how I perceived the chronology as indicative of a many worlds type scenario, with realms stated to exist in parallel, and that's reflected in comments made by Aonuma as well. In that light, could it be considered that this was an intentional decision, choosing the events to draw attention to the timeline and put the spotlight on the obvious contradictions therein? Is it a move that is both deliberate and purposeful, designed to provoke our curiosity, and asking us to investigate why the contradiction exists and why the choice was made in the first place? The devs have openly stated how Tears of the Kingdom and all the games entirely are designed to work cohesively. And whilst they have their own solution to how that comes into play, the choice is deliberate in leaving it up to players to solve and craft their own story. Something Aonuma likens to the puzzles players solve in game. Discoveries are still hidden and they tend to reinforce this view, with one example being the recently published video I did on the mirror Triforce. This was found in the Sanctum in Breath of the Wild, and the Triforce here is depicted inversely to the usual arrangement that we would typically see. It's a clue that had remained hidden for 7 years. And strangely, the same texture is one that's repeated in Tears of the Kingdom, albeit corrected in this version of the Sanctum. What is interesting though is, thanks to some great work by our fellow enthusiast Neil, we've discovered another variation of the Triforce mirror here that occurs in one specific moment during a pivotal battle between Phantom Ganon and Link and the Sages, and it's a discovery that tends to suggest the secret may be intentional, left only where the curious might discover it. These are all clues begging us to ask questions why they exist and how they might be explained, and there are plenty more out there. Look forward to more of those and other ideas and theories, as well as a really interesting one that's remained hidden for over a decade, coming soon here on Gamesmiths. Well, that just about wraps us up for today, but as always, I'd love to hear your thoughts in the comments. Can you see the connections between A Link Between Worlds and Tears of the Kingdom, specifically the depths? And what do you think happens to the Triforce when a Wishmaker dies, or indeed that reality? As always, if you enjoyed the video, hit the like button, it helps it get around and about, and subscribe if you want to stay tuned for more Zelda content. Sharing your passion for Zelda is what this channel is all about, and there's no one right answer to how the series should be viewed, so as always, I'd really like to welcome any ideas, theories and comments you have, as they're always a joy to read. This video is part of my ongoing theory arc, building a larger picture of Zelda lore, so if you enjoyed this one, check out some of the other videos and stay tuned for more discoveries. As always, thanks for watching, keep being amazing, and we'll see you next time here on Gamesmiths.